Hi there, everybody. I am Stephanie Hawkenhall, and I am the host of the Intricate Testimony Show. This is a new show, and this show is to give people hope, to inspire and encourage people through the testimonies of other people. So I have my first guest, and that is Jame Scott. Hi, Jame. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you, Stephanie?
I am doing wonderful.
Oh,
Thanks for being on the show.
thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. I would like to ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Jame Scott?
Hmm. In just a couple minutes. Let's see.
Is that a loaded question?
It is so loaded. Jame Scott is a resilient individual that's been through and overcome a lot by the grace of God.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
I'm originally from San Francisco, born and raised there. I grew up in foster care. And for a short while, I guess, well, depends on what you consider short, about a year and a half, I also bounced around in several foster homes and group homes and then returned to a stable one and was eventually adopted. I graduated high school at 17, a semester early, and then I moved to Memphis, Tennessee to start undergraduate school. And I earned a bachelor's degree in social work there. Then I later went on and got an MBA in management from Strayer University. And then I later got my master's in social work from the University of Memphis, and most recently have become licensed. So that's kind of me in a small nutshell.
That is awesome. You have gotten a lot of education, and we do have something in common.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
graduated when I was 17.
Oh,
That was my junior year. I finished my junior year, and I was like, I'm done. But
mhm.
it wasn't quite like that. I had all my credits, so I was able to go ahead
Right.
and graduate. So that's wonderful. So, how was your life growing up? You just shared a little bit
Yes.
about yourself, about growing up. So, tell us a little bit more, if you will.
Sure. Um, I would say it probably started out what some people would say normal. And just with a single mom, my birth mother, I can remember vividly going from a house to an apartment to hotels to rat and roach infested hotels to literally the street.
Hmm.
And sadly, she she was addicted to drugs, and that had just taken over her life. She hadn't always been had that addiction. And naturally, at the tender age of 7, I was conflicted. I still wanted to be with my birth mother, but I even knew at such a young age that that wasn't the life I wanted to live.
Yes.
And at 7 is when I decided to call one of her friends, Colette. I don't know, back then, in 1990, they were still payphones. And so I called Collect and said, I don't want to be here anymore. And she said, Jame, you're just upset right now. If you still feel this way, call me tomorrow. And I did the same thing the next day.
Hmm.
And oftentimes people are really surprised to find out that I was 7 and I was the person that put myself in foster care. And so at that time, it was my mom's friend before she got strung out on drugs. And so I remembered her phone number and called her Colette. And she called the police and got them involved. And that's how I got into foster care. And with that, there were a lot of emotions, a lot of trauma, a lot of things I was exposed to while I was homeless. Kids are cruel. So I had been teased a whole lot because I didn't always know, if there was going to be a roof over my head or where my next meal was coming from or if there'd be one. I didn't know how many days it would be without seeing my mother. And with that, I was dirty. And so I had an odor, and children would tease, because my clothes didn't fit or because I smelled bad or my hair wasn't combed, and all of those things that some people take for granted and you would think just come naturally or, are supposed to be, or things that we're supposed to have. So at that time, it was very, very difficult. And I was exposed to almost anything that you could possibly imagine that would be associated with a drug addicted mother that was also a prostitute. And I knew that, and I saw it. I saw her with men and women. Um, some of my peers saw and knew. And so that was also something I was teased about. And I don't often share this part, but I'm willing to even share with you and your audience, hoping that it, blesses somebody else, that I overcame it. I was molested by my birth mother during the time that I was with her. And, that was really, really something hard for me to overcome, because people didn't understand when she passed away. She passed away when she was 51. People didn't understand that I didn't cry even at her funeral, although I'm her only birth child.
Yeah.
And the reason for that was we did have a strained relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But I was at peace, because 2 weeks before she died, I called and told her I forgive her and I wanted to work on our friendship. And that was nothing but the grace of God and divine intervention, because I had no idea she was going to die. She died of a heart attack. No one saw that coming.
Wow.
That was kind of like some of the things as a child. But as I got older, I became a rebellious teenager. And so I ran away from the foster home that I was in. And that's when I bounced around to other foster homes and group homes. And that was a difficult time, because my safe place was school. I knew even when I was with my birth mother going through the hard times, my safe place was school. I had a controlled climate. I knew that I would have a meal, and I knew that I was safe and I wouldn't be touched. So with that, I excelled in school, even in those types of environments. So even when I got to the other foster homes and group homes, my grades stayed good, but the other kids that I was in the homes with knew that I wasn't always all that good either. And so that caused conflict, because sometimes I would be permitted to do things that they weren't, because I went to one of the best high schools in San Francisco. I went to Lowell High School. And so anyone in the Bay Area knows about Lowell High School. But I was a cheerleader, and I was in student government, and I had a part-time job. And so that was not the norm for other students that were in foster care or group homes. And with that, I got permitted to do more things that the other ones didn't. And so it caused conflict, and that was just a mess. And so I begged my mom to let me come back home, my foster mom that raised me, and she said yes. And because of her, and her guidance, and her tenacity and believing in me, even when I didn't believe in myself, helped me to be the strong individual that I am now, and being able to be a social worker to help guide other people and influence them. And of course, I have to be careful how much I self-disclose, but because of what I've been through, I know that other people, and hopefully I can help them see and find their destiny and help them overcome and achieve what they're supposed to as well.
Yeah. I think it's amazing how we go through things in life, hurting and in pain, and not knowing how we're going to be able to use that opposition and those tribulations to
Mm-hmm.
help somebody else in the future, if we're willing to. And so I think it's amazing that you have used your story and became a social worker so that you can reach out and help more people and
Thank you.
provide the information and resources available to
Mm-hmm.
help in those type of situations and in other situations, because I know social workers have a lot of resources for a lot of different things. So I
Yeah.
think that is phenomenal.
Well, it's two things that I live by with that. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like when people are going through those things, you often wonder why, but my outlook now is like, it's not why me, but why, what am I supposed to learn from this?
Yes.
How can I help somebody else with it? So God has helped me to turn my test into testimonies,
Yes.
my mess into a message. And I really feel like, he chooses some of his strongest soldiers for some of the toughest battles.
Yeah. I would have never believed that some of the things that I've gone through, that I would be able to use my voice now, which is something that I wasn't able to do for many years. And I just think it's phenomenal that you went to, the high school that you went to and graduated early, and then continued to pursue education, and not the things that happen in your life to stop you from doing the things, necessary to create a better life for yourself and for others that you come in contact with in the future. So you're a phenomenal lady.
I'm blessed.
Yeah, you're blessed, and we're blessed. Blessed is a better word. So you just shared some of the things that you experienced as a kid, and I thank you for that. And thank you for sharing some of your life's experiences. So, and you hit a little bit on this too. When it came to being a child, and then the things that you learned, and when you became an adult, how much of that and basically you just said not much, but how much of those beliefs did you hold on to that you grew up seeing? How much of that really impacted your life that you just held on to, and how can you answer that question? Because I'm kind of stumped.
I would say I've probably held on to all of it in a way, and not in a negative way. I've held on to it to know that if I can overcome some of those things when I did with the limited resources that I had, there really isn't anything that me and God can't take over right now. And
I love that.
It's made me just very tenacious. I think it's healthy to face whatever trauma or problems that you're going through, but get over it.
Yeah.
And not in an insensitive way. I think that we need to deal with it. I think we need to face it, and face it head on, and keep going. I feel like I was put here for a purpose. And as long as my heart is beating, that means I still have purpose. I still have destiny, and I still have a reason to be here.
I absolutely love that. I absolutely love that. So, are you happy with the life that you have now, based on what you just said? That yes.
I am a very happy person. I'm very optimistic. So I would say that I am happy. I don't think that I've reached my peak in my life yet. I have recently started a new job as a guest services director in a senior living community. And so it's quite unique to compare to the things that I've done in the last 16 years of my career, but still in a giving field, still in a developing and helping field. So I do love that. But I'll tell anybody, all the success in the world doesn't mean much of anything if you don't have someone to share it with. So I'm still praying that my husband comes along too, because I still want a family, because I have that much love to give. And so I want to share that with a family of my own.
That's awesome. When you were talking about, still having hope for a husband, it reminded me of something that I heard T.D. Jakes say years ago. And that was, many people, pray for and ask for a husband, a new car, a new house. And they get these things, a new job, a good job, and they get these things and they lose them because they weren't prepared for them. And so because I heard him say that so many years ago, I held on to that, because that was after my divorce. And so I held on to that. And so there was a point in my life where I even set a timer on my phone to remember to pray for my husband, during that time every day. So I pray for my future husband, and I pray for myself. So I think
I do too. I do. Absolutely. So that's not foreign to me. I absolutely do.
Good.
So I know that God is preparing us for each other.
That's awesome. You have an amazing story, and you're such an amazing lady. And I really appreciate you being on the show. What can you give the audience, or what would you like to give the audience to inspire them or to give them hope, in addition to what you've already said? Because you've already given a lot of hope in what you've shared. So in addition to that, what would you like to share?
I would just like to share that, like I said once before, is that if your heart is still beating, you still woke up on this side of the earth. God still has a purpose for you. There is a reason that you're here. And just don't forget that. Never give up. Stay faithful. Try to be as optimistic as possible, and know that, ups and downs in life are inevitable.
Yeah.
So this too shall pass.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer that there is a breakthrough, after every storm. So, you might be just right on the brink. Keep holding on, keep moving forward, and it'll happen.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for being on the show. I really appreciate you being on the show, and I appreciate you sharing your story. And I just want
Thank
to
you.
say God bless you, and God will continue to bless you. Thank you.
Absolutely. I believe that.
Yes, thank you for being on the Intricate Testimony Show. Have a great day.
You too.